Welcome to Wine Soundtrack South Africa. Listen to the passion with which producers narrate their winery and their world. In 30 answers, discover their stories, personalities, and passions.
Hello, friends and listeners of Wine Soundtrack. This is Marina Kalo, and today I'm sitting with the Wet Viljoen from Neethlingshof Wines. Welcome, Wet. Can you tell me a bit more about yourself?
Thank you, Marina. I'm the winemaker here at Neethlingshof. I've been here since 2003. Joined here from Wellington. Started here as a relatively young winemaker. It's been 19 years going, and been very, very fortunate to be able to make wine from at this estate with these beautiful, beautiful terroirs. The one thing that really stands out for me is the fact that as a student, under the very, very capable hands of a Professor Eben Archer and a soil scientist of the likes of David Simon, they always told us as students that this part of Stellenbosch is probably the prime part of Stellenbosch in terms of soil. Basically just the beauty of the soil and the quality of the soils, and the one thing that still stands out for me is the fact that they say you really can't repeat the exact words, but you really need to mess it up tremendously to make bad wines with the quality of soils that we have in this area. And with that in mind, it's been a privilege, and that's basically my motto. I have a book in my bookshelf. I'm looking at it now, and it's called Terroir, and that's my philosophy in life. The author of the book states that wine needs to have a personality, and the only way that you can have a personality as a wine or as a person or anything in life is that you need to have a sense of place, an origin and a place where you're coming from, and that's the philosophy. It's creating wines with a sense of place, and that's where I started from.
I really like that as a philosophy. It's a really good starting point, and if you ever get lost in your way, you can just kind of recalibrate again by positioning that in your own mind. So tell me, how many hectares are under vine? What is your average production annually?
Yeah, so we Neethlingshof has two different areas, although it's seen as one production area. So we have close to 200 hectares under vines, of which most of it is in full production. Our average yield is about 10 tons to the hectare. We might drop to about 9 tons, like in 2021, 2022, the past vintage, depending on seasonal conditions. But we're there about 10 tons to the hectare. Good spread of almost 50-50 to white and red, and it's a lot of averages, but average is not a bad thing. It's another story. I like stories, by the way. If you don't know me as a person, I'm from a town called Worcester, and not a lot going on in Worcester, so we need to have stories. And that's another story that I remember from the late Professor Eben Archer. He always mentioned that you can be an average person, but average is always a danger, because you can have one foot in the water and one foot in the fire, and that's quite an average. But Neethlingshof in general, 50-50 white, 50-50 red, with a good spread between the different varietals. Yes.
Okay, and tell me, obviously we know your wine estate very well in South Africa. Which other markets would you be able to buy wines from Neethlingshof in?
So I think our most important market it's a fact, is the United States. We have grown in the US, which is a good thing in terms of the global outlook of wine. We're very fortunate that we were and still are able to grow in that market. Very happy for that. That's certainly our most important market. Second market would be Germany, which is because of the just the historical influence and the ownership of Neethlingshof. That's very important. And then it's bits and pieces all over. You need to have a good spread. What we are very happy for is the local market that has grown in the past couple of years. So. Again, coming back to average or the spread, we have a good average of about 60% exports and 40% local market spread between the different markets.
Over to you. What would you say is your first relevant memory of wine, or what was it that kind of piqued your interest in wine and winemaking as such?
Oh, that's a good question. I grew up on a wine farm in Worcester. My family's always been involved in wine. I'm seventh generation on our particular farm. My father and my grandfather and my great-great-grandfather, as far as I remember, they always produced wine. So I grew up with wine, being able to enjoy wine with meals with a family. We were very privileged, and we were never excluded in that sense of just enjoying food and wine, good food and wine as a family. So wine / alcohol was never something that it was always something that you can enjoy in moderation as a family. And then going to school, going to varsity, and not exactly knowing what I wanted to study. I started off studying a BSc degree, and during those years my brother-in-law was the winemaker at Zevenwacht, and on over weekends, because Worcester is a little bit far away, I would visit them. I would take my bicycle. I would do the cycle from Stellenbosch to Zevenwacht, which is about 22 kilometers, and I would then visit him and help him in the cellar, get to sample different wines, and I think that just sparked the interest that was already there. So that was how it was all emphasized, or just the focus of enjoying wine was just more focused at that stage. So it was always there. I just needed something to spark it. And as a student, that was my second and third and fourth year. That's where I was. Where I really decided that I wanted to do this, and then I started over with oenology and viticulture.
Yeah, I think it sounds like it was certainly something that was in there, but just needed to be lit up, and the spark needed to be lit for you to really actually recognize that maybe this is your future. Talking about Neethlingshof again, what is the flagship wine for Neethlingshof? What is in it, and what does it cost?
Yeah, the problem with South African wines, let's focus, let's zoom out and look at South Africa. I think the problem with South Africa is the fact that South Africa is making so many good wines, that people tend to lose the focus, because we can really be good at Sauvignon, we can really be good at Chenin Blanc or Chardonnay or Pinotage or Cab or whatever, and a lot of people like to box South Africa in and say this is what you should be good at, or this is what you can really be good at. And I think to a certain extent it's the problem with Neethlingshof. We have 9 different terroirs here at Neethlingshof, which would simply translate to different soils, different slopes, but you can produce 9 different wines if you planted the same varietal on 9 different locations, and you'll get 9 different wines. So to put that back into your question that you asked, what is the focus? What is the flagship? I can answer that. I can tell you that at this facing, at this terroir, we can produce that good quality. But looking from a marketing perspective, what Neethlingshof is really doing well. We're doing really well with our Sauvignon Blanc because that's a volume brand. We are really doing well with our Pinotage. It's been an historical successful brand. We're really doing well with our Cab, and we're really doing well with something different as a Malbec. So if you could put that into a basket, I would say that would be our niche wines, and that we are focusing on. Yes, we do some other wines. In terms of what is our best wine, I think probably the best wine that I've produced here at Neethlingshof that I'm really proud of is a Cabernet Sauvignon from the 2017 vintage. It's under the 1802 brand or label. And then obviously, as a winemaker, you should always strive to still produce the best wine, and the future will tell. And that's what I'm looking ahead to.
And tell me the price ranges of your wines.
So we have three different tiers of wines. We have the estate range, then we have the short story range, and then we have the ultra premium range, which is called the 1802. So the estate range would range from about 90 Rand to about 130 Rand a bottle for white and red. The short story collection, which is sort of the premium range, is from 130 to about 280, 300 Rand a bottle. And then the Icon range, or the ultra premium range, which is the 1802, would be 500 Rand plus a bottle.
And you yourself, what do you enjoy drinking? White, red, bubbly?
It's winter at the moment, so I don't know if it's an age thing, but I'm growing older and grey, as you can see. So I'm loving wooded white wines at the moment. I'm craving for wooded white wines. Don't ask me why, because it was the one category that I wouldn't drink as a youngster, but I'm craving for it now. I can't get enough of that. So I'm really enjoying a wooded Chenin, a wooded Chardonnay, a wooded blended Sauvignon Semi or sort of wine. And then red wines, red. I love red wines at the moment, and I love to drink red wines from all across the spectrum. You should always, you shouldn't judge a wine before you tasted it, simply by the label, simply by looking at the label. And that's what I'm trying to do now. I try to drink as many different wines from different labels, from different producers as possible. And there are a lot of hidden gems out there, lots and loads of hidden gems out there. So I'm enjoying everything at the moment, to be quite honest.
I think that's a really valid point. I think many consumers find something that they like, and they don't necessarily venture far beyond that. They just kind of go, "Oh, this is what I like, and I'll continue to buy this over and over and over." And they also seemingly lose sight of the fact that actually that wine will change from vintage to vintage as well, and despite that they will still continue to buy that wine, and I personally don't think you're ever going to expand your knowledge of wine unless you just try something different. Try wines from different regions and different producers and different varietals and styles, and that's the best way of really learning. Do you enjoy pairing wine with food? Is that something you enjoy doing? And do you think there's a recipe, or what do you do?
I love doing wine pairings. I love cooking myself. My wife, my whole family, I have 3 boys. They all like to cook. It's always been a passion of ours. So I think that sort of rubbed off onto the children. The beauty of wine is to be able to enjoy it with food, and I think that's the way that it ultimately is meant to be enjoyed. I mean, enjoying a glass of wine is wonderful, but enjoying a glass of wine with a fantastic meal is just out of this world. So we like to cook. As a family, we like to cook. As a family, we like to We still sit around a table. That's the one rule in our house. Whenever we have a meal, we sit around the table, and the boys they're allowed to have a glass of wine, as was the case with me when I grew up. My wife and I have been attending cooking classes now for almost 20 years because we like to cook and like to learn new things. So I think food and wine is meant to go together, and it opens up a whole new world once you start to understand the way that wine and food should be paired. I was very fortunate that the one of the previous people working here at Neethlingshof was a remarkable lady. She's still around, by the name of Katinka van Niekerk, and she wrote a book, Food and Wine Pairing, probably the best book ever written in South Africa about food and wine pairings. And she taught me that the way that wine and food should be paired, it's not simple, but it is actually quite simple. It's the weight of the wine paired with the weight of the food. And once you understand that concept, then you're more than halfway there. It's understanding how or the weight of the food. Is it rich? Is it lighter in style, paired with a wine that is more full-bodied or medium-bodied or heavy-bodied? And once you understand that concept, then you really start to enjoy the food and wine pairing. And that, to me, it's a whole new world. It's a whole new science. And I think there should be more emphasis being placed on that. In the near future. But it's a wonderful new world once you understand that.
And I must say, I've been to one of Katinka's talks. She is so inspiring, and she certainly makes you look at and think of pairing food with wine in such a unique and different and enlightening way. It really is fantastic. So you're here pottering along in the cellar, and space aliens landed their UFO right outside. They are thirsty, very thirsty. What would you give them to drink?
Well, I would first assess the color that they look at. Are they green? Because then they would obviously ask for a Sauvignon Blanc. No, I'm just joking. It's probably the wrong question to pose in South Africa, but it doesn't matter. Seasons. Wine tasting, wine enjoyment to me is all about season. Is it winter? Is it summer? Is it autumn? People, plants, all living creatures are influenced by the season that we are in. The phase of the moon, you can go on. So I'm from a scientific biological background. So depending on the season, if they would land here now in winter time, definitely Pinotage. They need to drink Pinotage now. It's a mood enhancer. I'll offer them the best Pinotage we have to show. In springtime, something a little bit lighter, like a nice Chenin Blanc or a Chardonnay. But at the moment, to answer your question, probably a nice well-oaked Pinotage, and then with a nice stew like a lamb curry or a nice waterblommetjie breedie. That would be my welcoming offering to them, seeing that they will be taking over the world.
I want to be an alien now. I know there's many producers and winemakers that either walk through the vineyards and speak to their vines, or walk around in the cellar and kind of just engage with the barrels on a deeper level. Do you do that?
I know of these things, but I'm happy when I'm walking in the cellar. I'm happy when I'm walking between the barrels and just touching the barrels and just feeling, just being close to the wine. I think that's my sort of happy place. I love music. we generally in the winery there's always some music on. I'm not going to lie to you. It's never classical. It's a bit of everything. I'm a very big fan of the 80s. I'm not so sure that 80s music is the best music for wine maturation, but I think the vibe, the energy that you can get from your wine, or not my wine, but the wine in the winery, can certainly enhance the whole vibe in the cellar, and it goes both ways, because it's there used to be, I still recall a movie, a Julia Roberts movie. It was called Mystic Pizza. It's quite an interesting movie where the mood of the kitchen was translated into the food that they served, and I think it's very similar to making wine. The mood of the winemaking team, and it's a team, it's not a solo project, is translated into the wine that is produced in the cellar.
I think that's a really nice analogy as well. Very, very cool. So what do you do when you're not at work?
Wow. Well, raising three boys is quite challenging, but the family likes to go outdoors. We have a holiday vacation down south, Varneskrans or Arniston. We all like to fish. The whole family likes to fish. We like to be outdoors in nature. Anything outdoors we really enjoy. But the beach, the sand, the blue ocean, fishing, that's our happy place, certainly.
And are you into movies? Any movies that are like, you mentioned Mystic Pizza, but are there any movies that you would say are like your top 3 of all time?
Well, I was born December 75. The television came out January 76. So I'm a TV fanatic. I love movies. I'm a Star Wars fan, so sci-fi. I love sci-fi, Star Wars, but I'm also I've got a softer side to me. Star Wars would certainly be up there. Movie with I'm trying to read Nick Nolte and Martin Short, but I'm trying to recall the movie, but will get back to me. And then certainly any sort of soppy movie. I'm reluctant to admit it, but I like to sort of associate with situations and relate with certain things. So it's a big spread. It's sci-fi to the one end, but very realistic to the other end. So I'm still thinking of the name of the other movie, but it will come back to me. So maybe at the end of the interview I'll remember it. Can't remember it now.
It'll come to you at 2 a.m. tomorrow morning while you're sleeping. What advice would you give our listeners? What is the best piece of advice you could give someone?
Well, I think with age come a little bit of wisdom. Just be true to yourself. Just don't try to be something that you're not. It's a lot of us try to aspire to people or things that we don't comfortable with. Don't try to keep up with the Joneses. It's not worth your while. It's certainly wasting a lot of energy and time. Enjoy your family. Enjoy the ones that that matters most to you, and just enjoy life. Seize the moment we have today. That's what we've got. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And smile. Always smile. That's what we can do.
Indeed, and I think most of the time the Joneses are trying to keep up with you unbeknownst to yourself. That's generally how it would happen. Complete the following sentence. A table without wine is like.
Table without wine is like. It's an empty sentence, so I don't know really how to complete it. A table without wine is like It's like eating a meal without salt. It just doesn't matter. It's in Afrikaans we have a saying, it's laf. It doesn't taste nice. So table without wine just doesn't make sense in my world, to be quite honest.
So a VIP was paparazzi'd outside of a restaurant, and on the table is one of your wines. Which wine is it? And who is the VIP?
Wow. First person comes to mind is Bruce Springsteen, because I love Bruce Springsteen. He's probably my favorite music artist. I was fortunate to be able to see him live in Cape Town with his previous world tour. So he would be the VIP. Wine, he's like he's a serious guy, and the boss. I mean, he's the boss. So in my life, in my space where I'm operating, it has to be a serious Pinotage. That would be the wine that we would be enjoying together.
I like that wine. Awesome. These space aliens that landed not so long ago, they've kind of convinced you to go back into space with them. And you can take 3 bottles of wine with you. What would you take?
Well, I mentioned to you that I quite enjoy sci-fi movies, so this sounds like a sci-fi movie. I enjoy a heavy wooded Chardonnay now, so it will have to be a wooded Chardonnay. Do you want brands? Okay. So my name is De Wet, so I have to go back to the family. A De Wet's-Hof Chardonnay, definitely part of the package. Then a Malbec. It will have to be a Neethlingshof Malbec. That's one that has been very, very that has done a lot of good for the Neethlingshof brand. And then lastly, depending on you need to cover all the bases. So matriarch late harvest, just to ensure that there's something sweet for whoever is on the other side of the galaxy, as you mentioned.
I like your thinking. Okay. Is there a winemaking region in the world that you would really like to explore?
Funny enough, I've been fortunate with where I've worked in the past, within here at Neethlingshof and my previous positions, to be able to travel extensively. But I've never been to New Zealand. So and the fact that that Neethlingshof also produce Sauvignon Blanc, be it more the tropical style, I would really like to explore the New Zealand wine, North and South Islands, just to experience a little bit of the different styles of Sauvignon Blanc. I have a great admiration for what they can produce. I'm not saying that they are doing it better than us, but I do admire what they are doing. So that would be an area that I would like to explore. Yes.
Okay, and maybe catch a game of rugby in between.
Oh, definitely. Well, you read me like a book, so I'll obviously organise it with a Springbok New Zealand test in the back of the mind.
For sure. We're almost done, but before we're done, I'd like to play a little game with you. So I'm going to name 3 varieties, and you are going to tell me what music or genre or artist or song you would pair with that variety. So I think we need to throw in Malbec into the mix here.
I listened to Twisted Sister on the weekend, And Malbec to me is like, we're not going to take it anymore. So I love Twisted Sister. So that would be the song for Malbec.
I like that. That's a very, very cool combo for me. Then what about we throw some Chenin Blanc in here?
So Chenin to me is remember, I grew up in Worcester, so Chenin can be produced in many different styles of different styles. So Chenin to me is more midstream in terms of a song. So that would be another favorite band of mine, Mike and the Mechanics, and the specific song is probably Word of Mouth, because everybody, Chenin is sort of in everybody's mouth at the moment. Everybody enjoys Chenin.
You're absolutely right, and hopefully our listeners have had the opportunity of tasting some wonderful South African Chenin. Right, I'm going to end off with Semillon.
Semillon is a difficult one. I used to produce Semillon here at Neethlingshof. We sadly don't have Semillon at the moment, or we don't have Semillon at the moment anymore. But it's quite an acquired taste, with that in mind, you need to really think what you would like to pair with Semillon. So I'm still thinking. I do have a band or two in mind, but Green Day. It's just that greenish style of Semillon with a Green Day. It's when I've studied at varsity, they were quite big. Quite enjoyed them, and there's a South African influence in Green Day with a lead singer coming from South Africa. So that would be my reference to Semillon. Maybe not everybody's favorite, but if you go back and you go and listen to their songs, it's quite interesting.
Well, I didn't know that the lead singer was South African. That's quite interesting. And also, I think here in South Africa, Semillon is also known as groendruif, which is the green grape. So nice combination for sure. David, thank you so much for joining us today. It was really awesome chatting to you. Would you like to remind our listeners just where they can potentially read up a little bit more about Neethlingshof, engage with you on social media platforms, and buy some of your wines?
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a real pleasure. Neethlingshof, you can go onto our website where you'll find links to all our different social media platforms. So it would be www.neethlingshof.co.za, and you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You'll find us. Between those platforms, you'll get different links to the different links of Neethlingshof. The ultimate link for enjoyment of our wines is if you try one of our wines, and that would be my recommendation. Doesn't matter where in the world you are, look out for our wines, look out for the Pine Avenue on our labels, and hopefully you can taste a little bit of the terroir that we have here at the estate, and you can get a little bit of the sense and the feel of where our wines are created. So ultimately, that would be the biggest happiness for me as a winemaker, that you as a consumer can enjoy our wines. And we would very much like your feedback, good or bad, doesn't matter. I've got broad shoulders, but we need feedback. We would like to know if you enjoyed the wines, or if you have any recommendations in improving the wines. That's what we are here about. We're evolving, and we are not set in stone. We can change, and we can be better to the consumer.
Thanks so much. Onwards and upwards for Neethlingshof. Thank you very much for your time. It was a absolute pleasure chatting to you, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thanks for listening to a new episode of Wine Soundtrack South Africa. For details and updates, visit our website winesoundtrack.com.